Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Welcome back to a brand new match preview on the channel. Hope you guys are keeping well. Wolves are back on their travels once again. It's another game under the lights, our third evening a game in succession as we face off against Arsenal at the Emirates. It's top versus bottom, and things just don't seem to look like they're going to be getting any better for Wolves anytime soon. Of course, we'll discuss the game and preview the game. We'll have the opposition perspective later on in the video as well. And a big shout out once again for the partners of today's match preview, where you could go and get yourself a Wolves quiz book or the Wolves word search. It's right up to date until this last season, 24-25. So if you're still searching for that last minute Christmas present for a family member or a friend or anything that you maybe want to spend Christmas testing your Wolves knowledge or doing the word searches as well, make sure you check those out with a link in the description down below. But yes, Wolves on the travels. Arsenal, who have had a very solid season now. They did lose out last weekend at Villa. Of course, we gave Villa a pretty decent game, but we were also on the losing side, unfortunately. But our form and our look at the Emirates hasn't been too great over the last few years. We gave them some pretty good games under Nuno in the early years. I think I was there. We got a draw or two at the Emirates, if I remember rightly. And then we beat them during COVID. But since then, we haven't had the best of forms. And they've, without checking, I'd say they've probably beaten us quite comfortably in the last 3 or 4 encounters at their place. But it's going to be difficult once again. I've had conversations with Wolves fans over the last day or so about this game, and unfortunately a lot of people think this is going to be a cricket score, 5, 6, 7 goals. I really hope that isn't the case. Of course, I think Wolves, if we look at our form under Rob Edwards, obviously it is 4 defeats, but 3 of those games are at home. Probably our best performance during the Rob Edwards era has been away from home, which was that game against Villa, which I just mentioned. So I'm hoping maybe with how he looks to set up away from home, it may bring the best out of us, and it may make us a tricky opponent to face off against. Unfortunately, our task won't be made any easier with the absentees that I'm about to talk about in Rob Edwards' pre-match press conference. He discussed, obviously, the Jeff Shee interview, which was aired on BBC WM yesterday, which I did my reaction for. I think a few people probably think I was a little bit too kind about that. Maybe in hindsight I was. But Rob Edwards obviously encourages communication between the chairman and the fans, although obviously it hasn't been perceived too positively by the fan base. But then, of course, in terms of team news as well, unfortunately, Jean-Luc Bellegarde is out for at least 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. Now, I think Bellegarde has had a real, let's say, inconsistent, that's probably the right word to use, an inconsistent time at Wolves so far. We've had some really good spells from him, and then he sort of shies away and goes missing for a little bit. But I'd say over the last couple of weeks or so, he's probably stood out as one of the better Wolves players, to be honest. I think at Villa Park he did quite well. On Monday against Manchester United for the first 45 was definitely our brightest spark, and obviously rounded off his first half with a goal before he came off injured early in the second half. So I think that will be a big loss. Now, for me, how does he approach the second half then? Sorry, not the second half. This game against Arsenal. How does he approach the team lineup, Rob? Because we don't know if he's settled on his best formation yet or his best 11. Of course, he started a system with both Tolu and Jorgen Strand Larsen in the first game against Crystal Palace, which he hasn't revisited. We've seen sort of Jean Arias and Jean-Luc Bellegarde be the sort of 2 behind Jorgen Strand Larsen, but of course there was a bit of a reaction to Strand Larsen coming off against Manchester United, which him and Rob Edwards have apparently had a really good chat about, because I think he was really disappointed with his performance, but of course the reaction as well. So hopefully that does, in a way, spurs him on, because that, the reaction was from the fans, look, this has not been good enough, and this change to allow a Rocadare to come on earlier should have been done sooner, or maybe Tolu should be starting more games. So I will be intrigued to see what Rob does and how he starts tomorrow, whether he does change shape. Does he just bring Krejci in for Bellegarde, João Gomez, in for Bellegarde, and sit them alongside Krejci and Andre and go quite negative and defensive? Or do we see him stick with the sort of front 3? Do we see Hwang potentially come in, Fer Lopez, Matheus Mane from the start perhaps? There's a few options there, and I'm very intrigued to see maybe will he shake up that back 3 as well. Because I think after Monday's performance, he was brutally honest. He said he was nowhere near good enough. if he goes and just does one change to that team, I will be very surprised. I think it does need a bit of a shake-up, and it needs different players in there. Maybe Matt Doherty will come back in for the first time since his injury. I don't know. So I am interested, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the potential lineup as well in the comment section down below. But it's great to welcome DG, Deluded Gooner, back onto the channel. We've had him on the channel a few times over the last few years or so. Always good company, always good to chat football with him. And of course, we'll get his thoughts on Arsenal so far this season and how he thinks Wolves will fare between now and the end of the campaign. So then, guys, it's great to welcome DG back on the channel once again to get the Arsenal perspective ahead of tomorrow's game. DG, thanks for jumping on, man. How you keeping?
I appreciate the invite, man. We've done this for a number of years now, so I had to say, yeah. Obviously, it's somewhat unfortunate that we're friends now. We're gonna have to go to war at the weekend, but I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I hope everything's blessed on your end as well, man.
Yeah, man, all good. Hopefully, well, it may be the last time we speak on a preview for a while, but possibly, with what's going on. But
hopefully,
we'll talk about that. But Arsenal have had a good season, man. Top of the league at the moment as we speak. Does it feel like it could finally be the year for Arsenal? I mean, we saw results like that we saw last weekend. The league has been a little bit inconsistent so far, but from your end and from the sort of mood and the atmosphere around the Arsenal fan base, is it positive so far?
I mean, atmosphere in relation to Arsenal fans, it depends on where you speak to. Some will focus on the fact of we've dropped X amount of points in the last 5 games. Some will say, obviously, it's 1 loss in 18. And it's one of those in which we know, obviously, Arsenal Football Club, we can't, any team furthermore, you can't win them all. You're not going to have a 100% record. You are going to have bumps and bruises and twists and turns. And yeah, there's been injuries and things. But if it comes down to fine margins, you will probably look back at, in my opinion, Liverpool away, recently against Aston Villa and plenty of others. But if you offered me this position in August, I would have had it. In terms of what you're asking is, can we get over the line? I do think we'll win a trophy. I mean, we've got 4 bites at the cherry. I'd ideally like the Premier the champs. If we were to fast forward and assume that me and you were having this conversation like latter April, May, I'd be a lot more confident. But I'll take the position 2 points clear, but we've just got to get our players back and we got to get back winning, man. So yeah, man. And it does feel like the stars are aligning, my boy. I'll be real with you. But at the same time, I do think, that sometimes we're our own worst enemies and, our players are dropping like flies. So I am confident that we can win the league and obviously win some silverware, but there's a lot of football to be played, man. Starting on Saturday evening.
Do you think Arteta needs this, or just some sort of trophy? I mean, I suppose the Premier League's the big one. Champions League obviously would be massive as well. But do you think he needs something this season?
You need something. Ideally, the Prem and the Champs. That obviously I'd be happy. A lot of fans would be happy. You've won, if not both. You've won one of the 2 big boys. But that will shut. Forget the outside world because everyone's got their opinion. That will shut a lot of naysayers up where Arsenal are connected. I do think you need silverware as a minimum. I do think the majors are the only one that's going to shut everyone up. So the Premier and Champs. People will be a bit shameless because you would have saw the back end of last season, Palace, them lot down the road. I won't mention their name. Plenty of teams winning silverware in it. And everyone was saying, oh, trophy's a trophy, silverware, which they're right. I think if you fast forward a year and Arsenal only win a League Cup or an FA Cup, I don't think that will quite be there. But I do think he needs a major. And I think for the players, if you offered me the Prem or the Champs, bro, I'd take the Champs. My team ain't won that. That's the biggest club competition you could have. And it's going to sound a bit mad, but I think Arteta and the players, just because you've been so close but so far in the last 3 years, you probably need to get over the line in the Premier League more than the Champs. So that's how I'd answer that question, man.
Yeah, no, there always seems to be sort of this thing about Arteta, and I think he's done such a good job considering, there was quite a lot of pressure on him in the early days. He had some big decisions to make. He's still here now, and Arsenal every season now, are under Wenger it was top four. Now under Arteta it's title challenge. You've sort of taken that next step.
He's flirting with it. A lot of foreplay. We need to penetrate now. Is the way I always say on my channel, bro.
Yeah, he does need something, but. I mean, we watch Arsenal, we will see a lot of them. We know how well they've been performing so far. There's going to be obvious players like Saka and so on, but anyone that's, really kicking on this season that you've been impressed with and maybe players that Wolves need to look out for tomorrow night?
I mean, you know what? With Mikel Arteta and his press conference, you can never read too much into players' availability. Obviously, we've got a lot of injuries. If I was Arteta and I could tell you for 100% fact, the first man I would say is actually Trossard, because I think he's been our best attacker. Obviously, there's a lot said about Saka, about Noni, who's done well in the Champions League, about Gyökeres or Marino and things of that ilk. But to answer that, I would say Trossard. Naturally, I think personally, Declan Rice and Timber have been our best players. I would actually, if I was you lot, It's going to sound mad, but Miles Lewis-Skelly, obviously, he's been second choice to Calafiori. This would, because Calafiori suspended for the game against you lot because he's picked up too many yellow cards. I just think whenever Miles Lewis-Skelly has a point to prove and that whole inverted stuff, I would say that would be my left field choice. I don't know who you lot's right winger is, but I'd say that's the man you kind of got to watch out for. Even our centre half options, when we played Aston Villa, that was our 7th partnership of the year, innit? So you can
Oh
picture
wow,
the
yeah.
landscape, innit? And actually midweek you saw Christian Norgard plays centre half. So I respectfully to Wolves, I don't know if Arteta is going to gamble and say, do you know what? Respectfully to Wolves, it's a game we should be winning, etc. Maybe Norgard can play centre half. Me personally, I want the strongest team out there. We're 2 points clear at the top. I think City got Palace the day after. Don't know how that's going to go. Obviously, we lost to Aston Villa. Had we have not dropped points to Sunderland or not dropped points to Villa or beaten Liverpool and City, I'd say rotate. But I want my strongest
Yeah.
team out there. So for me, like if they are fit, it's got to be Raya, it's got to be Miles Lewis-Skelly, it's got to be Timber, it's got to be, I hope, actually, either Benjamin White or Timber as a centre half or a right back. Take your pick. Hincapié, Rice, Zubimendi. I think Odegaard will get the nod. I do think he'll persist with SA left wing. I don't know if he'll start Madueke, but I would start Saka. And I hope Gyökeres through the
Yeah.
middle. So I'd go strong, man. We need these 3 points, man. We need them.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you
Can't
got a
do
game next midweek or not?
No,
Or
for
is it like
once,
a
I
full
think
week?
excluding international breaks, since August, this is the first time like we just played on the weekend and we've got a week's rest. So even
So
more
that's what I
reason
mean.
to
He
play the
should. He
strongest team.
should. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. I know he played. You had Champions League, but he's rotated a little bit there. But he's got a full week of rest now. So in theory, he should play
Should go strong.
his strongest team. Yeah. Is there any? I know it sounds crazy when Arsenal sat at the top of the league, but is there any areas that Wolves could look to exploit tomorrow, or are Arsenal pretty solid across the
I
pitch?
mean, honestly, if I put myself in Wolves' shoes, yeah, like you lot are fighting relegation, you've had another manager in, things are kind of going wrong. If Arsenal win, it's not selling too many papers and headlines. If you lot win, it's selling a lot more. We've got first world problems in it. Like we're talking about winning trophies, and we've got one loss in 18, and we're, pardon my language, bitching about it and things of that ilk. You lot are fighting for
Yeah.
survival. So I'd say be on the front foot, be fearless. I'd say get into our face. The main thing I would say to you, even though on paper people might not say it's not the worst, naturally with the injuries we've got and Miles Lewis-Skelly coming in for Calafiori, you've got to ask questions of our back five, including Raya. You've got to get that. You've got to be proactive because if you let us play our game when we've got a bit of you let us control the tempo, we've got possession. You're playing right into our hands, man. Because that's the approach I think we're actually gonna have. So I'd say exploit
Yeah.
the back line, just have chances, be fearless, try a shot. Like players play out of their skin, easier said than done, but I would say that, like, respectfully, I know Wolves, you can't really say you've got a free hit because you're trying to get survival in it, but this could
Yeah.
potentially,
Yeah.
quote unquote, be a free hit. So be fearless and try and ask questions of our back five, man. Specifically, whatever centre half
Yeah.
pairings out there.
We played well against Villa a couple of weeks ago at Villa Park, and obviously they got the better of us in the end. It was
Join
a
the club.
long range shot by Kamara, but the game against United on Monday, we tried to play high line and tried to play attacking, and it was all over the place. So I will be very interested, not in just terms of tactics, but personnel as well, because with Rob Edwards, he's made one or two changes here and there, but tomorrow there could be a big shake-up in terms of lineup. So I would be interested. Is there anybody, if you've seen any of Wolves or a little bit of Wolves, is there anybody in the Wolves team that you think, despite us playing so badly, is one player that you might keep an eye on tomorrow?
Who's the guy that scored against United, man? The black guy.
Oh, Bellegarde, he's
I
injured, man.
swear.
He's been
All right.
playing
Well,
well,
that would
though.
have been
Yeah,
my answer. I like him. That would have been my answer. But
yeah,
yeah, he's injured. Hopefully, he gets fit soon. But that was the one I was thinking. Oh, don't know if I fancy it against you, man.
yeah. No, he's been looking tidy the last few weeks. But I mean, there's players: Strand Larson, João Gomez, Andre, just
Yeah. João Gomez
nowhere near the
quality, your
levels.
striker quality. And again, going back to what I said, with your striker and our back five, ask questions in it because teams that have equal or less than Wolves have asked us questions like Club Bruges. Again, I don't want to be disrespectful to either Wolves or Bruges, but there's probably nothing in between it with the attackers. They didn't score, but they asked questions. So the beautiful thing about football, it's not Formula One where it depends on your car and mechanics. Like it's just 22 players out there, 11 aside, go do your thing. So, yeah, Strand Larson, naturally, we've conceded a lot of cheap goals. So, ask questions. Even going back to Brentford, I know we were, a goal up for the large period of the game and we got the second to ease tensions, but they did have opportunities. They did get into our box. I wouldn't say we're invincible and you can't ask questions, but I would say it's one where obviously tactics and player ability plays a part. But I'd say for Leeds, apologies, for Wolves and the traveling fans, it's about the mentality. I know it's cliche in this country, but it's about how you start, your hunger and your desire. If you do that, you might be able to get something, which obviously I hope is not the case.
Yeah, no. I mean, you summed it up perfectly earlier on. I mean, if Wolves got a result here, at the Emirates. I think, like you said, it would be across all the headlines. There's a lot of Wolves fans expecting maybe a cricket score because that's the mood and that's
Hope
how
so. I don't
Wolves
see it.
fans are feeling. Do you think what's your thoughts and predictions? Do you think Arsenal have got the ability to put someone like Wolves to the sword? Have you seen that much under Arteta, or is it normally sort of you get 2 or 3 goals up and then they normally takes the foot off the gas?
Generally, that is the case. What you just said there about we take our foot off the gas, but I have kind of seen us be ruthless. I actually the same thing we did against Club Brugge is what I want to see against you lot. Be professional,
Yeah,
dominate possession, take your chances. Obviously, from the minute you goal a goal up, no matter what teams are fighting for and whatever, football's a simple game. You got to go there on the other end of the pitch. I don't want you lot to be stable and stay in shape. I want this to turn into a kind of basketball match because that would play into our
yeah,
hands.
yeah.
I would love a cricket score.
Massively.
I mean, respectfully to Wolves and Arsenal, we're top, you're bottom. People could say, yeah, you could hit them for 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't see that. I say honestly, 2-0, 3-1 kind of thing. I'd love a clean sheet because I don't think we've defended to as high standards as we can, regardless of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
being fit. If you're asking me for a prediction, I'd say 2-0 Arsenal. But I actually think Wolves will give a good account of themselves. And you've got no choice, essentially. I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as people can kind of make out.
Yeah, well, yeah. We scored the goal against United, where in front of goal we've been really poor before then as well. But you never know. Football's a strange game, isn't it? So they may well surprise us all. But DG, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for jumping on. Where can people find you and your content if they
Oh
wish?
man, hey, you're far too kind, my boy, man. It's always a pleasure. We've been doing this for a number of years. Hopefully, you man stay in
Yeah,
the league. Just type in
I hope
Deluded
so.
Gooner on YouTube and I'll be there, man. Appreciate you for having me.
Legend,
Make sure you're smashing the like button on Talking Wolves videos and things like that, man. Best of luck for the
brilliant.
season.
You too, man. And fingers crossed, Arteta can finally get you over the line and get that Premier
Please,
League
man.
title. So big thanks to DG. I'll make sure I leave a link to him in the description down below. And finally, sorry, I should say, apologies for the audio last week on the preview. I was so gutted about that. It was a really good chat with Ty, the Manchester United fan, and I'll do my best to make sure that doesn't happen again anyway, guys. But as always, tough game at the Emirates. I'm not holding my breath. I don't think many Wolves fans are either. But stranger things have happened, I suppose, in football. As always, hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you very, very soon.